Welcome to issue 308 of Critical Encounters, a podcast about Marvel Champions, a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. Here, we take a good look at that most critical piece of the game, the encounter sets. We'll discuss those poorly understood characters, unfairly labeled villains, and their various plans to shape humanity and benefit the planet, as well as those so-called heroes intent on thwarting them. I'm one of your hosts, Steve, and joining me tonight is Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hey, how you doing, Steve?
I wasn't sure which one of you guys I wanted to introduce first because Daniel's also here. Hi, Daniel.
I should come last in every pecking order there is, Steve. It's fine.
You always save the best last, or in this case, the worst. Do you want to be best? Are we here?
Unclear.
Yeah, unclear.
Don't ever call me heroic. That's all.
Okay,
that's right.
Great. We won't do that. You know what? I will call you, Daniel. I will call on you to tell me what is on your mind tonight.
Steve, my mind is all a jumble. It is. I've been in a maybe like many people in the world, in a bit of a funk of late, and I have found myself doing something that I think maybe is a new kind of depressive act for me, but I know it exists for everybody, and it's called things like, I don't know, doom scrolling or whatever. Like, I will literally just sit on my phone for so long and just like do kind of nothing, and I think, and then I'll like wake up, I'll snap out of it and be like, my God, it's like been a half hour or something, and it's just like, and I try to put it down and go to something else, but there's this like magnetic call to me, and there's like nothing there that I need from that tool other than to communicate with people, right? So I certainly don't need to be scrolling like an old person on Facebook, right, where I don't see anything from anyone I know. And Bill and I were talking about it yesterday. It's like, I don't even know what's real. Most of it's just AI gobbledygook that isn't even actual truth. Like, I don't know if Pete Buttigieg said that. It sounds cool. I hope he did. Like, I hope the Canadian Prime Minister said that speech. I don't know, right? Like, it's almost impossible to know what to believe anymore. And then I got to thinking, like, but what I really need in my life to replace this kind of thing is the community or the various communities that kind of surround me beyond like just my family. Like, Bill and I played last night on his channel. We played Red Skull, just the two of us, and we had an absolutely great time. And I'm like, this is what should be occupying my mind, right? These opportunities where I get to, be with Mustafa and play games there. My former colleagues at my older school, like Diala, and a couple other folks from there. We try to get together as much as we can. And like, that's where time should be spent, So I've got to figure out something to do, right? Like, before phones and all that stuff, I would actually, like have a half hour here and there or something, and I would write, right? Or I would plan something, or I would outline something. I would have a creative something happen. And I feel like it's been a long time since I've leaned into that.
Take that guitar out for a little while.
Right? Yeah, like there's nothing stopping me from it other than just sort of like inertia,
Build more decks for Marvel Champions.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where I'm at. Like, it's sort of it's depressing, I suppose, but it's also positive in that I know the right things to be doing. Hanging out with you two right now, doing this is where my mind should be. It should be on creativity, imagination, art, music, all that stuff.
Yeah, because you are right. It is very depressing. It is exhausting if you are paying attention to what is going on in the U.S. So, yeah. But the alternative is to not pay attention to some of that, which is maybe worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult. Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. So I just put my phone in the vault.
Excellent.
Yep, but I forgot the code, so it's there. Anyhow, sorry to start on that note. What are we really doing here?
Well, we are going to get into our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box with our first scenario. We're going to talk about Black Widow, but I thought Black Widow was a hero character.
I'm really confused by this.
I am too. I even recall talking about Black Widow previously in issue 76 back in August of 2021. Is that
Wow.
right?
That's
Holy
a long time ago.
moly.
Yeah, it would be that. It'd be that year. And like, why would we talk about a hero though? I'm confused.
that can't be right. Scott,
Yeah.
straighten us out here. What is going on?
Well, I think we should clarify that Black Widow, even Natasha Romanoff, started as a bad guy, working for Russia, assassinating people. I mean, she's got a criminal record. She is no, naive, upstanding. She's no Steve Rogers, let's put it that way. And, when certain powers no longer had Natasha on their side because she went rogue and decided to masquerade as some sort of do-gooder, even though we all know that all along she's just changed which political alignment she's doing bad things for. Well, they had to get a new Black Widow. So it's more of a title than an individual person, a title that must be earned. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Yelena Belova, who is the inheritor, as it were, of Natasha Romanoff's legacy.
We see her in the movies. We have a
Yeah, so-
ally card, right? So like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, okay.
But I think we mostly see her as a semi good guy, which she kind of does find her way into a different alignment later on in life. But before we talk about where she ends up, I think we should talk about where she started. Do you all have an idea of when Yelena Belova enters the scene?
I do, but only because I read the show notes. Ha.
I just remember
about
her
you, Daniel?
from being Florence Pugh.
So Scott, the trick is if you have a question you're going to ask us, you can't post the answers in the show notes. This
Well,
is
that's true.
Villain Podcast 101. So
I'm looking at him right now.
yeah,
1998, Inhumans number 5.
there you
Yes,
go.
well, that's the first one I put in the show notes, but is that the first one she
Okay.
showed up in?
Oh, there, I don't know.
It better be. Oh, are you going to lie to us now?
And the answer is I don't actually know, but that's the first one I could find her in. So
Okay.
that is the first one I could find her in. It's around 1998. I think that she may have appeared slightly before that, but I wasn't able to find a comic with her appearing by name until about then. We actually get her backstory several years later. And the story of Yelena Belova is like a masterclass in manipulation, pain, recovery, and revenge. So if you were looking for a nice lighthearted story about a villain who just has these wonderfully marvelous machinations to reshape the nature of humanity, this is not that. Her story has like a little bit of everything. And like many of our villains, her status as a bad guy, as I mentioned, is more due to political lines and propaganda than some heinous nature, her lawful evil alignment, or an eternal intent to do only harm. So before we talk about how she became this notorious bad guy, let's talk about where she began. Yelena was recruited into the Red Room as a young teen. She was discovered by the Black Widow herself, Natasha Romanoff, at least that's how I interpret the comics, after a car crash killed Yelena's parents. Are you all familiar with the Red Room? Do you remember kind of Natasha's background? And, the Red Room is
That's like the training.
Yeah, so
It's like where they desensitize them into killers and stuff, right? It's like...
Exactly. It's Russia's premier espionage academy designed solely for young women who are like in the comics are the GRU's primary assassin spies because they're gorgeous and they're unexpected and they can, use all of their various skills, as it were, both, their appearance, their feminine wiles, as it were, as well as their deadly martial arts and skills with firearms to do whatever Russia needs. So she, as a very young girl, probably around 12 to 15, is selected to become the new Black Widow after Romanov's loyalties shift away from Russia. So she trains under a man by the name of Valievich Pyotr Starkovsky. He is a colonel in the GRU. I believe his rank is colonel, or the effective equivalent. And he trains her. He becomes like a father figure to her. He's with her every day, teaching her hand-to-hand combat, really, she sees him as the only true parent she ever has, right? At least the only one she can truly remember. So years later, after training and training, and she's basically ready to become the Black Widow, although she's very hard on herself, we see that she can't quite get the same marks as Natasha did, and she beats herself up about this. One day she comes into the office and she's told to go solve a murder case. Well, it's a very psychologically trying case because it turns out that the murder is of that one and only parental figure, Colonel Starkovsky. And as she's investigating this, she learns that Starkovsky had developed rather unparental feelings for her over the years. Now, this is a comic run. This occurs in the Pale Little Spider comic run, and it is very full of adult themes and content. So I'm not going to go into all the details. It's not exactly child-friendly, let's put it that way. Suffice to say, a worker in the adults-only bondage-themed club that Starkovsky used to attend was being paid to dress like Yelena and meet with him. Now, eventually, this young woman by the name of Petra started to believe that she was, in fact, the true Black Widow. So what we end up with is Yelena chasing down and trying to figure out who's killed her father figure, as it were, all the while being exposed to these truths about him that she doesn't really want to believe. So they're kind of crushing the last bit of innocence and goodness in her to make her Russia's true Black Widow. And in the end, she rises to the challenge. She kills Petra, Petra shoots her, and then she takes the gun away and guns her down and walks away, murder solved. Only not exactly. Because it turns out that all along, Yelena was being manipulated. It was the general of the GRU who ordered Starkovsky killed to begin with. And the madame at the club was a lieutenant or a captain at the GRU named Lubyev. And they have orchestrated this whole thing. They have put Petra into the position that she was. They can basically made her kill Starkovsky. And all of this was to force Yelena to have to investigate the murder of her pseudo father, to come face to face with his sort of heinous feelings towards her and brush that last little bit of her inside. So complete manipulation and pain of Yelena. This is where she begins. That's the beginning of her story, and it doesn't exactly get better. So
Yikes.
from her, she starts to do, Black Widow stuff. She's an assassin. We find out that at one point she goes and helps sneak a Trojan horse, as it were. It's actually a little statue of a horse. It's very ironic. Into the Inhumans' capital city so that they can overwhelm the Inhumans' defenses and invade the land of the Inhumans, is one example. And she does some other stuff in there too. It's kind of alluded to, but we don't necessarily see it in the comics. The next time we see her is during her sort of dogged pursuit of Natasha Romanoff's legacy. She's in Moscow in her apartment doing the Black Widow stuff. And Natasha, inspired by the great acting careers of Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, arranges for Yelena to be captured and drugged. They then have their faces swapped surgically. It is a face-off.
Yes.
It's like looking in a mirror, only not.
So Yelena wakes up in a room full of Natasha's things, being called Natasha by Daredevil, who was dating Natasha at the time. She's passed a mission as Black Widow, and the mission is to kill Yelena Belova. So she wakes up and she's like, this isn't me. I'm Yelena Belova. I'm Yelena Belova. And then everybody's calling her Natasha. Everybody's calling her the Black Widow. And everything around her says, you're Natasha, you're Natasha. She bumps into somebody. She tries to call somebody, and it's not the information she thinks. Then she's passed this, drop bag by somebody walking past her, and it's got a mission inside, and it says, kill Yelena Belova. It is head games at their worst. And because Yelena is really Natasha, who is pretending to be Yelena to get secrets out of Yelena's leadership, she's hunting down Natasha, which is what she wanted to do to begin with, but now their roles are swapped and it's totally screwing with her head. In the end, it kind of works, but not really, because the head of the GRU's intelligence discerns that Yelena is a fake, because it's really Natasha. This is very confusing to talk about because they're in opposite places.
Who's who?
So in the end, yeah, who's who? Who's on first? So eventually, the head of the GRU's intelligence spills the beans on how disposable Yelena is, while Yelena, who is wearing Natasha's face, is like in the bushes hiding with Daredevil. And it turns out that this has been a whole game basically orchestrated by Natasha with the assistance of Nick Fury, S.H.I.E.L.D., and Daredevil, all to break Yelena's faith and trust in her own government, to teach her a lesson and what it means to really be a spy. It's not very nice. Now, Yelena doesn't kill Natasha. She almost does for pulling off this whole scheme, but it's very clear that she is not grateful. In fact, the very last thing she says to Natasha is, "Give me my face back."
Language.
And it's the last thing she says to Natasha. Well, at least that time. You see their paths cross again, not long after, because Natasha was working to stop the development of an evil biological weapon that turns people into death machines in the country of something like Rasifatin. I forget the name of it. It follows on the trails of what she learned and their last encounters from the head of the GRU. They're in the same sort of Middle Asia kind of country, effectively. And both Russia and America have interests there, and there's this general that's scheming to unleash this weapon, and Natasha is trying to stop him. Now, Yelena has been pursuing Natasha, no longer really for the Russians. She's kind of like half working for the Russians still, but not really. And she catches up to Natasha just in time for S.H.I.E.L.D. to gun Natasha down right before Yelena's eyes. She dies in Yelena's arms. Now, this is all because Natasha was making it look like she was a rogue agent, and Russia's thinking that maybe Yelena's a rogue agent. So, like, both countries are trying to kill their own agents with, like, backup teams at that time. It's just really classic, spy.
And trust anybody.
Who knows what's really going on? Can't trust anybody. Okay. Everybody's an enemy.
Wait, they have their faces back, though?
They do have their faces back.
Okay.
They did end the last one with getting their faces swapped back. It's very classic face-off.
Okay, good. Okay.
So at this point, Yelena is like, well, I know what you were trying to do. And so now she's like somehow inspired by Natasha's death to go take up the mantle of the Black Widow for good. So she tries to stop this general, to save the Russian and American troops that are arranged on either side, and she fails. She gets caught. Now, it turns out, though, that Natasha was still 3 steps ahead of Yelena. Yelena, can't catch a break. So Natasha's just using Yelena as part of her grander scheme. Natasha's been incognito, dressed as a nurse, immunizing all the soldiers, including Yelena, against this evil drug. You see, when we started this, she, stole part of it and basically forced the scientist who made it to form an antidote under threat of mauling and torturing him, and he succeeded. So she has an antidote. It's not exactly an antidote, it's really a vaccine, right? So it can't stop it once it's been administered, but it can keep it from having an effect. So none of the soldiers die except the general. Yelena's like, what the heck? Had no clue any of this was happening, and is stuck in the middle of all of these people, all of whom want to kill both Yelena and Natasha. Well, the Americans are fine with Natasha because it turns out S.H.I.E.L.D. was all in on it again. So what's Natasha going to do? Or what's Yelena going to do? Well, I tell you what she's going to do. She's going to start a multi-million-dollar modeling and lingerie enterprise because she's a badass bee. She moves to Cuba.
That's what you do? Where do you get the money from? Oh, she probably stole it at some point, right?
She probably stole it. Well, I mean, she's been making money working for Russia.
Yeah,
and she does the superhero thing for a while before she runs off. But, it's clear that she's got an exit strategy at this point. And she's like a millionaire living in Cuba, hanging out with a bunch of expats, bumping elbows with Fidel Castro and, all sorts of rich people from around the world. She's enjoying the fruits of a successful lifestyle. She's hanging out by the pool and, a bathing suit and living the dream. That's when we next see her. Now, it's years later, and at this time, Natasha's on a run. And, Natasha can't get away from Yelena. If she's the legacy that Yelena had to live up to, she's also, Yelena's shadow, constantly behind her, dogging her, somehow pulling her back. And that's exactly what happens again. Natasha is in the midst of a bunch of stuff, and Yelena helps her out, saves her life, helps her, gives her money, ends up pulling her out of a tough situation. She saves Matt Murdock, who's there to try to save Natasha, doing it all the while looking absolutely gorgeous. And of course, the world doesn't see a successful, beautiful woman who overcame horrors that they can never imagine. Instead, they see a villain, which is exactly what S.H.I.E.L.D. makes her. At some point later, when they hire her back to work for her, they put her in charge of a team in the Savage Land. Now, a portion of S.H.I.E.L.D. that's actually run by Hydra. They've enslaved the native population, and they're secretly mining all the vibranium out of the Savage Land. And like Yelena's in charge of this team. What do we have now? We have Yelena, who's working effectively for the bad guys, but she thinks she's working for the good guys. The Secret Avengers show up, led by Captain America. She kills Sauron, who's like obviously a bad guy. He's there doing bad things. They'd captured the Secret
ring in the fire, right? Daniel, I think that's how it works, right?
Yes, she throws his ring in the fire. Different.
That's how you do it.
I said,
Okay,
this
wrong
is,
game.
This is
Okay.
this is the pterosaur Sauron.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy, the
Okay,
flying guy from the Savage Land, from the back of somebody's pack.
Yeah, Bill talked about him.
Now-
Okay, all right.
Yeah, exactly, that
yeah.
guy. So she shoots him through the head, kills him, and then Captain America and all their people start attacking her. Well, actually, to be fair, she shoots them first because she's been ordered by S.H.I.E.L.D. that there should be no witnesses. It's her job. She's just trying to do her job. Well, the Secret Avengers don't take too kindly to that, and they decide that they're going to attack her back. They attack her and her team. They beat them up, and unfortunately, Sauron had absorbed some of Wolverine's life force. He healed. He attacks them, and his flaming breath douses none of the Secret Avengers. No, he aims straight for Yelena and burns her to a crisp. Now, you would think that that's the end of our beloved villain, but
No,
we
wouldn't.
we're not even getting started. So from there, she is in fact burned by Sauron, and she's recovered by the Hydra overlords who had in fact been behind all of the stuff she was doing. And they decide, you know what? Let's offer her something. We're going to offer to heal her because they can. You see, they've hired AIM, and that brings us more to where we're going to be in Civil War or in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box, because AIM turns her into the super adaptoid, completely heals her body.
Wait, she's the super adaptoid? Or
She is the super adaptoid. They've managed to extract what made the super adaptoid, and they apply all that genetic modification to Yelena Belova. And they turn her into a new super adaptoid. Well, of course, what are they going to do with her? Well, they're going to set her loose on the people who destroyed her life, right? She was living the dream. Captain America is the bad guy.
Yeah.
So there's a bit where she attacks the Avengers out of revenge. Unfortunately, she's defeated. Sentry is there. She absorbs his power. She's beating up all of the Secret Avengers. It's Spider-Woman, Wolverine, Luke Cage. She's absorbing all their powers as the super adaptoid. Spider-Man's there, Iron Man, Captain America, and Sentry, and Captain Marvel. She's taking them all to town. They managed to get her slightly immobilized using a bunch of Iron Man's suits. And even then, they can't stop her until Sentry calls out the void in her. And she wasn't really expecting that. They used the horror of the void as torture on her to try to extract who sent her. Now, Hydra's not going to let her give them away, so they trigger their self-destruct button, which of course they put in her, along with a bunch of nanites that let them see whatever she's seeing, and she dissolves into a puddle.
Ugh.
And that's the end of Yelena Belova. No, of course that's not the end of Yelena Belova. What do you think?
She a cat?
No, eventually.
How many lives do widows have? Black widows.
Exactly.
I didn't know that was a thing, but they have 8 legs.
Clearly
I guess
a lot.
They have 8 lives. Okay.
A few more, it turns out, because
good.
she is reconstituted. She had absorbed Wolverine's power. I don't know if that's the reason why. I didn't ever read kind of what bridges the gap. At a certain point, I know that she's in a test tube, and the Thunderbolts are thinking about using her. She's in cryostasis or something. They end up not using her, And AIM sneaks into Avengers Tower or Avengers Mansion or wherever she is and steals her out because she's their super adaptoid. And that's how she eventually comes to be the Minister of State for AIM Island, alongside notable figures like Mentallo, their Minister of Public Affairs, Superia, the Minister of Education, Graviton, the AIM Minister of Science, Taskmaster, the Minister of Defense, and Jude, the Entropic Man, their Minister of Health, all led by the Scientist Supreme, Andrew Forson, the Sovereign Designate of AIM Island. Now, we heard a little bit about this from Scarlett Rhodey in the history of AIM, fortunately, so we have some background on that. And that's where we see Yelena Belova next. Still the super adaptoid, powered up. And that's where the art for this Yelena Belova, this Black Widow, comes from. We see her in this black outfit with the goggles on her forehead with the red lights. It looks like a spider's face. That artwork is coming from, and that style is coming from this bit of run, which is from the Secret Avengers in 2013. So that's where the core of Black Widow in this sort of costume exists. In it, she's working alongside AIM to advance the goals of Andrew Forson. Now, sadly, it doesn't end well for Yelena. History repeats itself. She's eventually killed, this time by her own troops, because Bobby Morse, aka Mockingbird, had been captured. She slips a Camotech unit onto the Black Widow while they're fighting, and so the troops think that Black Widow is Mockingbird, and they shoot her, when it turns out she's actually the Black Widow. The Avengers even take her onto their boat, thinking that she's Mockingbird, and then the Camotech unit stops running while they've got her on their submersible, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's not Bobby, it's Yelena Belova." Classic S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, again, full of espionage, twists, and turns, and morally heinous activities. There's no moral high ground on any side in any of this, and Yelena is effectively the prime casualty of it all. Now, luckily for us, Yelena's story doesn't even end there. Eventually, many years later, Natasha finds that the Red Room had backups. They had clones and psionic copies of their memories, so they could reboot their most valuable assets, people, when they were terminated. Natasha burns the whole program to the ground, but not before escaping with one of Yelena's clones, who she has imprinted with all of Yelena's memories. Yelena becomes more of an anti-hero after that, eventually donning the garb of the White Widow, which is the protection ally we have in the game. And there she's no longer loyal to Russia or Hydra or AIM, and not really to the United States either. She's kind of disillusioned with it all, and more of just doing what is best for her and the people she cares about. But we don't really care about what she does after she starts with those disgusting heroes, now do we?
Nope.
I do like the idea of making backups of our most valuable assets. So we'll start with Daniel, make some clones of him, and then we'll work our way
that's so
from
sweet,
there.
Steve.
I think that's an excellent idea. We need to make sure
Yeah.
that we hire a psionic that we can just keep locked away, who can psionically store the mental imprints, much like Professor X does for the mutants.
Yeah,
That's
no
basically
problems.
what they used in Russia. So
I
we
got
want to
somebody in
hire
mind. So
one of them.
yeah, okay,
Excellent.
Good. Yeah.
So that's Yelena Belova. That's the Black Widow. That's how she becomes the Black Widow, and that's how she eventually becomes the White Widow, and dons some different costumes now and then.
Well, thank you. That was a lot of. Well, that was a web. That was quite a woven web.
It is indeed quite a woven web, and it is full of all kinds of horrendous, heinous stuff, mostly being done by S.H.I.E.L.D. against Yelena, and she kind of finds her way through it, and yet she's the bad guy.
Well,
Classic.
I mean, at least she gets to hang out with, Hopper from Stranger Things. So that's cool.
Right. So why don't we talk about the cards?
Do it.
All right. Yeah, let's look at the Black Widow scenario, which comes in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box, Wave 9. It is our first scenario. 23 total cards, 16 by title. Tonight we're going to look at 2 setup cards, but then a couple extra ones and some rules, because this is a really fun scenario. And then we'll look at the rest of them next week. So, Daniel, why don't you tell us all about the main scheme before we get into the villain herself?
I love this, Steve, that we're doing the scheme first. All right. So the main scheme is called the Widow's Web. Now, the 1A is that you use the Black Widow 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 for expert mode. Pretty standard there. Black Widow and standard encounter sets. 2 modular encounter sets. We are suggested to use aim abduction and aim science. Now, in a setup, each player searches the encounter deck for a minion and puts it into play, engage with them, and then they do the shuffle. Now, you then flip to 1B to find the Widow's Web main scheme is threading out at 10 per player. That seems like a lot, but just wait. All right, you track the missing shield specialist to a decommissioned stretch of subway tunnel and discover her kidnapper's base of operations. X is the Widow's stage number. Now, what that means is that this goes up X per player. So in a 4-player game, at the very beginning of the game, this is going up 4 a turn. That's pretty wild. And it starts with 2 per player. And if the stage is completed, the players lose the game. So in that 4-player game, 40 does seem far away, but you haven't met Black Widow yet.
Yeah. I like how this scales if you're playing standard versus expert. Because if you're playing expert and you're on stage 3, that's 3. It's going up 3 per player. Fast.
Yeah. That's fast.
Yeah, 12 per player, or 12 in a 4-player game. It's 3 per player. 3 times 4 is 12. It's like more than a quarter of it every round, and you might have some acceleration tokens out or something else. Yeah, it can go pretty quick. But of course, there's more to this than just this main scheme. So we have to talk about Black Widow herself. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So let's talk about Black Widow. Black Widow is obviously the villain. In stage 1, she starts with 2 scheme and 1 attack. She has the spy trait and a forced interrupt that when a character you control attacks Black Widow, remove 1 threat from the main scheme, ignoring any crisis icons in play. Then there's an arrow, meaning that's a cost. Then you're going to discard the top card of the encounter deck and resolve each preparation ability on that card. And she has 13 hit points. All right, so in just a minute, Steve, why don't you walk us through that preparation ability in just a second? So Black Widow 2 has 2 scheme, 2 attack, also the spy trait, and a when revealed ability. When she's revealed, you're going to place 2 threat per player on the main scheme. Then she has that same forced interrupt that when a character you control attacks Black Widow, you're going to remove 1 threat from the main scheme, then discard the top card of the encounter deck and resolve the preparation ability on that card. Black Widow stage 3 has 3 scheme to attack, still the spy trait. When revealed, place 3 threat per player on the main scheme and the same forced interrupt. Stage 2 has 16 hit points. Stage 3 has 20 hit points. So she gets beefier, that nice when revealed ability. She's putting tons of threat on the main scheme.
Yeah, but really, this preparation is the thing we should talk about, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Now, we're not seeing a Black Widow character with the preparations is nothing new, right? Like, that's what makes the Natasha character so cool is her preparations. So it's only fair that Yelena has them as well. So let's just read. I'm just going to read what preparation ability is right out of the rule book, right? So it says encounter cards in Black Widow's encounter set have the preparation abilities in place of a boost ability. So none of the cards in her kit have a boost effect. Instead, these abilities, we're going to see that they have preparations instead. So these abilities are not resolved when the card is turned face up as a boost card. Instead, these abilities are only resolved by the forced interrupt on Black Widow's villain cards. When a hero or ally attacks Black Widow, including with the attack labeled ability, so anytime you attack her with anything that says attack, before that attack is resolved, Black Widow's ability removes threat from the main scheme. If no threat is removed, then the rest of her ability does not resolve. Like you said, right? It is a cost. So if there's no threat in the main scheme, you don't trigger the ability. But otherwise, the attacking player discards the top card of the encounter deck and resolves any preparation ability on the discarded card before resolving the attack. Damage dealt to Black Widow that does not come from an attack does not trigger forced interrupt Ant-Man's arm advance, for example. Right? Retaliate doesn't trigger it. But if you attack her,
Squirrel Girl,
when she enters play, right? Sure. But then if Squirrel Girl turns sideways and attacks her, you remove a threat from the main scheme, And if you have removed a threat from the main scheme, you flip the top card of the encounter deck, and if it has a preparation ability on it, you resolve that preparation ability, then you continue to resolve the attack afterwards.
I can definitely guarantee that I have still dealt the preparation card even if I had her scheme at 0.
Yeah, it's interesting because like she has to. I think of it like if there's threat in the main scheme, which is called the Widow's Web, she's been weaving her web. She has had chance to prepare, so
That's right.
that's sort of the cost of being prepared.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
know I
but
made
if
the
she-
game harder.
Yeah,
That's it.
You did.
Good for
There
you.
you go.
Well, that's
Good
Yeah.
for me.
that's one of the
villain.
bonuses of if you can remove all the threat off the main scheme, then you can
Yes.
you manage to like diffuse all of her traps, right? And you can go
Yeah,
straight
no,
at
that's
her.
a cool theme. I like it.
Yeah, you've cornered her. She can't do anything. Yeah.
On the flip side, you can also power through and just hit her. And if you don't have thwart, you're still removing threat off the main scheme because you're removing a threat every time you attack, regardless of whether that preparation triggers or not. You have to remove that threat first. So
Yep.
it's also a great way of whittling down all that threat that's going on the main scheme at the start of every turn. So you're kind of, regardless
Sure.
of how you approach it, there's sort of like two benefits in it, while also being bad for you. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really unique. It's very different. You do know that there are no boost effects because where on a card where the boost ability would be is a preparation ability instead. Now, that doesn't mean the modular sets you put in there don't have boost effects, but
That's right.
you can kind of, I don't know, you can kind of game that if you wanted to, or you at least a large number of cards don't have a boost effect, so you can kind of do the math a little easier.
It also doesn't mean that her cards don't have boost icons.
Correct.
So-
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. She can still do additional damage. She's just not going to do something.
Right.
Why don't we look at one of these cards that has a preparation on it? We're
Sure.
going to look at 2 cards tonight out of the kit. So, Daniel, why don't you tell us about the
No.
Aim Commando?
I will tell you about the Aim Commando. He's a minion with 1 scheme to attack 3 health, the Aim trait, the Quick Strike keyword, and below that, there is now a heavy line that says preparation. After this attack, put this minion into play engaged with you. And it also has 1 boost icon. So when you're playing, let's say Squirrel Girl, you tap her to attack Black Widow. Before anything else happens, you will discard the Aim Commando from the top of the encounter deck. And when all is resolved from Squirrel Girl's attack, you will end up with his Aim Commando in front of you with his 2 attack quick strike that Squirrel Girl can now not defend.
Right. Right.
That's right.
So that's how that works. So you still, get to do your damage and all that kind of stuff. But then all of a sudden.
Yeah, and there's 2 of these commandos in there, so yeah,
Mhm.
they could come out. I have to say, I don't care for the art in this card, and I understand this from a comic. It feels like, first of all, it's not in his beekeeper suit. He's in this weird other suit. I don't know, something about this art that throws me off from the rest of the AIM guys.
Well, I bet you like the next one then.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
definitely do.
All right. Steve, tell us about the grunt.
Okay, so there are
Yeah.
2 AIM grunts also in Black Widow's kit. They're a non-unique minion with 1 scheme, 1 attack, 5 hit points. The aim trait and guard, it has 0 boost icons, even though we said the cards would have it. This guy doesn't. But with the preparation ability, put this minion into play engaged with you, then resolve this attack against aim grunt instead.
Sure.
So you have Thor, and you exhaust him to hit for 3. So you've attacked. Black Widow removes the threat from the main scheme. You flip this card off the top of the encounter deck. Oh, it has a preparation. This minion comes into play, and Thor's 3 attack hits the grunt. Does not hit Yelena. So cool.
That's a good bodyguard.
And you have a guard out.
It is a good bodyguard. We need more of them.
Yeah, guys who show
Where can
up
we hire these AIM grunts?
right when they need them. Yeah, and he has classic beekeeper suit. He's just standing in a tunnel guarding, I guess.
Love
He doesn't have any weapons on him, which is why he's a 1/1, I think. Okay, pretty cool. So, Scout, if there are stun cards out there, what is going to happen?
All right. So if you or one of your allies is stunned when you're trying to attack Black Widow, the Force Interrupt is not going to trigger because stunned is a status card, and statuses take priority over interrupts, including forced interrupts, the stun happens first, which means your attack stops before the forced interrupt would ever trigger. It replaces the attack, and so the Black Widow's forced interrupt never triggers. So you would have to get rid of the stun status and then attack in order to be able to trigger her forced interrupt effect.
It's a replacement effect. There we go. That
It's
might
a
be a word
replacement
I'm looking
effect,
for.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. What do we think? What do we think about this new?
Love it. This is such a
Yeah.
fun scenario to play, which I imagine we'll talk more about next week. But yeah, I think it's cool.
So much fun.
It's
I agree.
kind of a lot of like busy work to play, but it's worth it.
There's a bit there to remember.
Yeah.
Take the threat off, flip the card, but it's printed right on Black Widow, which I do appreciate that her scheme is pretty basic. Like I don't have to also worry what her scheme is doing, even though it might be it's adding additional threat so that she has more preparation ability. But otherwise, it's pretty basic because all the
Yeah.
fun comes from her.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Well, cool.
I won't.
I think it's very innovative as far as it's the first encounter set that we get in this box, and it's very replayable. Like not
Yeah, absolutely.
some of them, I think like you play them a few times and you get kind of either it's too easy, which to me Unis is kind of like that. Like I enjoy playing Unis, but you kind of got to beef them up a little bit. Whereas Black Widow on her own in solo can be very challenging, especially if you're playing on expert, because she puts so much threat on the main scheme. If you're playing protection or aggression and you don't have a lot of threat removal, she can be very challenging, even though she has a 10 threat main scheme. So she shouldn't be scheming out on you all the time, but I find that she often does. So I really, really like this set. I think it's a very nice degree of challenge. I think the jump up to expert is a nice increase in challenge. Very well done. Very good set. Fun to play.
Yeah, I think too, playing with the aim sets in here, she's got 4 aim minions in there. So any of the other aim modular sets that target minions, like Mad Science, things like that, are pretty neat because they interact with it. And you get a really cool theme. But you can take the aim out and you can put in minion heavy sets if you want, or side schemes if you want to deal with more threat. So there's a lot of neat, because nothing is required in her set. So
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
all right. Well, is there more to say about part 1 Black Widow?
I don't think so. I'm really excited to talk about the rest of her kit, though. So I hope people come back next week.
Yeah, stay tuned, people. Be prepared for us to do part 2 next week.
You don't even have to hit us first. We'll do it anyway.
And maybe if we did miss something, how would people tell us what we forgot?
Oh, yeah. If they think we are ill prepared to talk about this scenario, they could email us, criticalencounterspod@gmail.com. We are Critical Encounters on Facebook. You can find our YouTube, Twitch, or Patreon by searching for Critical Encounters Podcast. And on Discord, we are Vardane, Big Fun Loaf, and Lexicon. If you like our show, tell your friends. If you don't like our show, tell your enemies. Black Widow, take us out.
There is always an escape route.
Hey, you know we didn't mention at all? This is
What's
the
that?
first issue of Volume 7. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. We wrapped up our Volume 6 with our games and things like that last week.
Yeah.
And then this week is our first one of Volume 7. Pretty cool.
Very
Oh,
exciting.
okay.
Pretty.
How exciting.
So what is the color scheme of our new volume here, Steve? What do the viewers have to look forward to?
It is just like our Black Widow becomes the White Widow. It's a black and white scheme.
Ooh, okay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Black and white, like the spies and shadows that we are about to embark into.
Absolutely. All right, folks can turn it off now. Bye.
Thanks all.